Hi there guys and girls, and welcome to another Mortal Kombat Conquest review. Doing episode 8 this time, which is Undying Dream. The first thing I'll say is I apologise that this one's been late. I've been trying to get these reviews up every week, but sometimes, on that weekend, I just run out of time to it's sort of a three-step process. First thing I do is I record the episode with my capture card and watch it and take down the notes that I've got on my little whiteboard. Then I got to film it. This is step 2, me talking to the camera, and then step 3 is got to edit and upload, which is, tedious. Well, not tedious, but time consuming. I'll say that. But yeah, so I apologise. I've been trying to get them up every week and fallen a bit out of sync. But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about Undying Dream. This episode was, as I mentioned in last time, was one I missed originally when I was watching Mortal Kombat Conquest on TV because they changed the scheduling and I had no idea they did that. So it took me a while to see this episode because I watched them all on TV and missed this one. So I don't know this episode as well as I know the other episodes because when I recorded them off TV I'd watch them a lot and yeah, because I didn't have this one I couldn't watch it. So and then Justin or Combat sent me a copy so I got the American recorded version of this episode, so I was able to watch it, but even then I still haven't seen it as much as the other episodes. Okay, now I'll basically talk about what happens. It's an interesting episode. There's a few connections with this episode to other episodes. This is yeah, a few connections to prior episodes and sort of things coming up in the future. So the episode starts with Tarja. She's buying something and she sees her father in an alley, and she hasn't seen him for, I don't know, I think she disappeared when she was 12. She says it in the episode. And she's obviously like, I don't know, 20 or something now, 19 or something. So it's been a long time, let's say 10 years for the sake of this review. And she recognises him and follows him, and he doesn't say anything. And grabs her and drags her into a portal, and then the intro rolls. Then we come back from the intro, and basically he dragged her into this portal and brought her to Shang Tsung, and then he walks off and he disappears, and he never says a word the whole time. And then basically we get a big long conversation with Tarja, Shang Tsung and Vorpax, and Tarja calls Vorpax a whore. What are you, his whore, and everything. And then basically yeah, she figures out that they've obviously done that, to sucker Kung Lao in, and it's another one of Shang Tsung's plans to finally get rid of the Mortal Kombat champion of Earthrealm. So yeah, they're talking, blah 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 blah, and basically the first connection point that comes up is they talk. Tarja mentions to Vorpax, and how did you get my father to bring me here? Did you use some sort of sorcery on him? And she says, it was him. So it really is him. But why is he in Outworld? What's he got to do with all this shit? It's sort of interesting this way. And then Vorpax talks about a slave raid bringing these people there, or bringing him here. So if you remember in the last episode, Dead of the Dragon, you briefly see a guy trying to, it's a plane, trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to transport people from Earthrealm to Outworld, because he's sort of a slave trader, you would say. And yeah, he has the chains. He says, where's my shipment? You guys probably remember that, and then he takes Joel to Outworld. So maybe, the Black Dragon captured him many years ago and handed him over to this guy, or whoever else it could be, and he got dragged to Outworld as a slave raid, which is what they call it in this episode. So that's one of the first connection points, which is interesting, makes you think a bit. Then we go back to Siro and Kung Lao, and yeah, the trap is set now. You see Tarja and Shang Tsung's got some weird sort of sorcery where she's like in the smoke and it's his voice, you know. He says, "Kung Lao, North Alley. Tonight, the portal awaits," or some shit, you know. And they figure out it's a trap, obviously, you know. And then, you know, they decide to find out if Tarja's okay, you know. Start looking for her. Then we go back to Outworld, and Tarja's run off on Shang Tsung and Raw Pax, and Shang Tsung has sent some big guy after her, you know. Yeah, his orders were, "She stays alive, the rest I leave to you," which is pretty sweet. And yeah, so this big guy chases Tarja, and then they have a fight, the first fight of the episode in the Cobalt Mines. And it's a pretty good fight. The only part that's a bit silly is that you can see sheets on the floor, and when there's a scene where you see the guy on the floor, you can see like the dry ice, and there's just sheets like on the floor. It's like, but yeah. Anyway, Tarja loses that fight, and Vorpax intervenes and knocks the guy out with a shovel. And yeah, so Tarja gets confused. "I thought you were working for Shang Tsung." And she says, "You know, I don't work for him." So this is where we first see a bit of Vorpax's true nature. She's always looking out for herself, but she goes along with what's ever needed to survive, or to, you know, achieve her own goals. We go back to back to Zero and Kung Lao in Earthrealm, and they found out that Tarja plays this weird game called Bowler with some sort of funny ball, and they go to this game, and there's some, you know, tough guy there. He's like, "What do you want?" You know, and Zero, you know, acts tough back to him. Two tough guys talking it out, you know. And yeah, they find out that Tarja plays this game, and "Who are you?" and she hasn't been around, and blah blah blah, you know. And then they leave, and yeah, bit sort of strange. These weird games that they come up with for the episode. These weird things they come up with. Then we go back again to Tarja now in Outworld, and she's talking to back to Vorpax. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. Who's talking to Shang Tsung, and they're talking about what we do, you know, once we get Kung Lao and all this, you know. And Shang Tsung's saying, Vorpax says, "And what about her father, you know?" And Shang Tsung says, "An enemy of Outworld, I'll bring him before the Emperor," and blah 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 blah, you know. So Shang Tsung knows who this guy is, you know. Or he knew how to find him, so there was some sort of connection. But Vorpax talks about it could be Shang Tsung just using his image, or she could know him, or he could be on one of the 100 floors. She says all this shit, you know. So you don't really get the definitive answer throughout this episode of how Shang Tsung knows this guy, how he tracked him down, how he got him to drag Tarja to Outworlds, and all this shit. So then we find out, we go back to Kung Lao and Zero, and they find out Tarja's definitely missing. So they decide, or Kung Lao decides to go. So this is, again, proof that he hasn't learned to carry the burden of Mortal Kombat. He can't accept that responsibility. He can't let his friends just die, because he can't think of it that way. He can't think of saving Earth. He just wants to save his friends, because he knows his friends, you know. So he's, even though for a while it seemed like he knew what he was doing, you know, this time he couldn't do it. So yeah, next scene we see him, he goes to get the crystal. Now, you guys remember the crystal from episode 3. This is the episode where it makes a comeback. You'll see it in this episode, and after this you don't see it anymore, which is sort of a shame. I actually like the idea of this object, this crystal object, that lets you travel anywhere you want, without condition. So yeah, he visits a friend or whoever, you know, some woman who answers the door in her underwear, and yeah, says, "I need the crystal, or the object I left here, the box," which is just a box of crystals, which is pretty ingenious. So he's got this box of all these crystals, and inside, you know, the special crystal. I can't. Yeah, so he grabs that. So obviously we know his plan now is he has a way out of Outworld, because, you know, obviously when Shang Tsung opens a portal, only he can do that, you know. Obviously Kung Lao can't open portals. Raiden can, but funny enough, Raiden's not in this episode. This is, I think, the only episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest that he's not in. So I guess that's another reason why this episode feels really different. Yeah, and then we go back to Vorpax and Tarja, who are again talking in Outworld, and Vorpax is talking about most people die, they don't survive down here. You know, their lungs give out from the cobalt, and then Tarja being pretty smart. She's pretty smart, more than she is physically strong. She says, "You're alive," and then Vorpax says nothing. And this will come up later in later episodes when we find out more about Vorpax, who she really is, how she's related to Kree and all this stuff. Now we go back now to Earthrealm. We got Kung Lao, and he's about to jump in the portal in the alley, and Siro says, "I'm coming too," and they argue a bit, and Siro says, "We'll do it your way, but I'm coming too," and he just jumps in the portal, and then Kung Lao jumps in the portal, you know, and then they end up in Outworld, and Shang Tsung says, "You've come with an uninvited guest," and then they have a bit of back and forth talk, you know. Then we get fight number 2, which is Siro versus this another prisoner. The thing I like about this episode is all the fights in it are all versus the prisoners. There's no mainstream fights, which is pretty interesting. You get to see some of these other prisoners from the Mines fight, and the guy that Siro fights is particularly entertaining. He has this weird style, sort of like I don't know if you guys have seen The Quest. There's that guy that, like, he's got that monkey style, like runs around like, you know, does all this weird shit. He does like that sort of shit, you know. He's like running around the ground on his hands, like, you know, doing all this weird stuff, you know. And yeah, basically Siro wins the fight, and then Kung Lao calls Tarja over, "Come and see that he's okay," and he says, "I'm fine," you know, let's just check it out, you know. And then whips out the crystal and says, you know, "We're leaving," and opens the crystal, and the crystal starts working, you know, and then Shang Tsung freaks out, doesn't realise he had that crystal, you know, and Tarja runs away, "Where you go from my father?" You stupid bitch, you know. And then Shang Tsung grabs the crystal off Kung Lao, and the guards sort of stop him, so everything seems to be going Shang Tsung's way. He says, you know, "My mortal enemy in the crystal, what a great day," you know. So yeah, you know, if you got to keep this, it's disaster, as Raiden explained. He wanted to destroy it, and Kung Lao said, "No, I want to keep it," you know, and he risked everything by keeping this and using it incorrectly, you know. And this is exactly what Raiden warned him about. This was Raiden going a bit soft when he shouldn't have, you know. And yeah, as a result, it ended up in Shang Tsung's hands. Yeah, then basically Shang Tsung tells Vorpax to summon Khan, and Shao Kahn summons him because he thinks he's got the upper hand. He's got the crystal, he's got Kung Lao, you know. Basically, yeah, he sets up a fight with Kung Lao versus another prisoner.
Kill him. Ah!
Let them go!
Brave, but foolish.
And yeah, that fight goes on. Obviously Kung Lao wins this time, and they run away, and there's a part where Tarja brushes up against Shang Tsung, or he grabs her, and she pickpockets Shang Tsung and grabs the crystal off him, which he doesn't realise. You know, that's that line that's in there. You know, he's a sorcerer and I'm a thief. So yeah, she gets the crystal back, and they decide. Kung Lao unfolds it, starts working, and Tarja says she's going to leave again, and she's about to run away, and Siro and Kung Lao grab her, and then we see the crystal go. We see that here. So yeah, that's the power of the crystal. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. We see them back in Earthrealm, and they're talking. You know, Siro's talking about Tarja's hidden life that he didn't know about, and then you know. Siro says, "Oh, this messenger dropped this off, this envelope," and she opens it, and it's her father's wedding ring in the envelope. So it's still an unsolved mystery. We don't know how does he get an object from Outworld to Earthrealm delivered to her? You know, who is this guy? He's got some sort of connection. You know, we don't know anything about Tarja's father, and it's never answered in the show. So it's very mysterious. It's made for a pretty interesting story. All up, I did like this story, this episode. I thought it was good, but I think we needed some Raiden intervention here. Maybe even Raiden could have gone to Outworld where he doesn't have powers. You know, I don't know. I just thought maybe he could have done something involved with the episode. But yeah, it's an interesting one because, like I said, the main characters only fight, you know, no-name characters, you know. And yeah, we see the crystal in action and everything. So basically that's it. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm in my socks again. Still got my work jeans on. Got home from work. Just bummed around on the computer a bit. I'm gonna play some Alan Wake. It's a good game, that. Then go to work again tomorrow. So yeah, thanks for watching another video review. Yeah, once again, sorry this one's late. I'm pretty tired, so I'm sort of just breezing through this one, so I hope I didn't leave anything out. But yeah, I guess the most interesting points on this were that I liked about this episode were the connections to other episodes, like the Dead of the Dragon and Vorpax's secret that's coming up, how she's Kriya's daughter and that stuff. And I like seeing the crystal finally being used. So yeah, those are my views on the 8th episode of Mortal Kombat Conquest: Undying Dream, and I'll see you hopefully this week for episode 9, Quan Chi. Thanks for watching.
That came for you. Some messenger dropped it off while you were taking a bath.
My God.
What is it?
It's my father's wedding ring.